The following lesson is linked to Learning Outcome 2, Reading and Viewing. It addresses the assessment standard that requires learners to explore and explain key features of texts and how they contribute to meaning in visual, audio, and multimedia texts. Learners should be able to recognize the use of visual, audio, and audiovisual techniques, such as the use of color, dialogue, music, sound, lighting, editing, framing, styles of shot, camera techniques, foregrounding, and backgrounding.
Hi, I'm Megan. In the first part of this lesson, we learned that writing the script is the first step in making a film. In this part of the lesson, we are going to focus specifically on the soundtrack of a film.
I'm Dr. Shapiro.
The soundtrack obviously includes the actors performing dialogue to camera, which are the words that were written in the script, but other forms of sound are included too. These are the types of sounds we are going to discuss in this lesson. A soundtrack is made up of voices, music, and sound effects. Let's begin with the most common type of sound heard during films. This is the dialogue, the scripted words that the actor says to camera. Here's an example.
Know you, man. What? What did they know, kasi? I said I know you, man. You must know my cousin Santel.
Who?
Santel. You were at the wedding. We almost like family.
Santel?
Of course, it would be a bit strange if the only people you ever heard speaking in films were the main characters delivering their lines to camera. Imagine a scene being filmed in a restaurant. In addition to hearing the main characters speak, you would also hear background noise from people chatting at other tables, or perhaps waiters taking down orders. Look at this clip and see if you can work out what dialogue has been scripted and what talking forms part of the background noise. So sometimes a film shows the main characters talking, and at other times you can hear people talking in the background. Sometimes though, you don't see anyone talking, yet you hear a voice. This is known as a voiceover.
The picture looks so good. You take it home and the
You also
sauce is
get
watchable.
voiceovers in
The beans have
documentaries
no
or
flavor.
educational TV.
With
You
beans,
watch
you
the
can
action
complain to the
and hear a
manufacturer.
voice telling you more
You
about
can
it.
try and get a
In
refund.
feature films, when a person
stay
is
away from
reflecting
that
back
brand
on their
for the rest
past,
of your life.
you may hear what is known
Then
as a
it's more
voiceover.
complicated.
In fact, what I'm doing now is a voiceover. But enough of me.
Morning,
Let's listen to the
Where
film
have you been?
voiceover.
I miss you, honey.
Now look at this one. This one looks good.
So we've seen that there are three types of voices that might be included in a film. Let's recap these. The voices can include dialogue between characters, background voices, or a voiceover. Let's have a look at each of these more closely to understand why a director might choose to use each kind of voice.
You're back. Lay down!
Dialogue between characters shows us what the characters say and helps us to follow the plot. If you pay attention to the vocabulary, accent, and dialect that a character uses, you will also be able to learn more about his or her character. What can you tell about this person by the choice of words that he is using and the way that he is speaking?
I must know you.
We've mentioned before that background voices are also included. These help to set the scene and make the action seem more realistic. Have a look at this extract. What clues are given by the background voices?
Charlie. Charlie.
Now let's think about a voiceover. A voiceover can fulfill a number of functions. First of all, it can help convey a lot of information in a short space of time. A voiceover can also be useful in telling the story or setting the scene. Sometimes a voiceover is used to give insight into a character's innermost thoughts and feelings. Let's have a look at a scene that uses a voiceover. Can you work out what function this voiceover fulfills?
She was working in a garden when a bird came to her, carrying berries in its beak. He said, "Eat these, and soon you'll have a daughter."
We've already looked at the first component of a soundtrack, the voices that are used. Now let's turn our attention to the next component, the music that's included. Music forms a large component of the soundtrack of many films. Some classic films, such as Grease, are known as musicals because music plays such an important role in the film. The next time you are in a CD shop, take a look around the soundtrack section and you will very soon realize that a profitable spin-off of creating films is to package their soundtracks. So why is music such an important component of films? Well, music helps to create the atmosphere. Listen carefully to the music played in this next extract. How does it help to create atmosphere?
Emagameni amathathu elikayise nelikandodana nelomoya oyingcwele ngiyakubhabhathiza wena madlozi ukuze inkosi ikwamukele uzalwe kabusha ubone umbuso wezulu.
Music helps to stir up emotive responses in a viewer. Think of the music that's played during horror films as the potential victim walks closer and closer to the monster. It really gets my heart racing. In other cases, soothing classical music is played to create the opposite effect. It calms the viewer down. Sometimes music from a specific era is played to help create a realistic impression of the time or to create a sense of nostalgia. It's now time to discuss the third component of the soundtrack. We've already talked about voices and music, but now let's consider sound effects. When films first started being made using sound, a number of clever techniques were used to create sound effects. The sound of lightning was created by somebody waving a sheet of tin, and the sound of a horse walking down a road could be reproduced by somebody bashing two wooden blocks together. Sound helps to make a film more realistic. If you see a storm outside, you expect to hear it too. The same applies to film. When they're showing a storm, they'll want you to hear one at the same time. I've already mentioned that sound engineers have a range of computer clips that they can choose from. Let's see a sound engineer at work as he adds sounds to a film to make it seem more realistic.
What I've got here on the desktop is a 30-second commercial with all my individual tracks. What I'm going to show you is all the individual tracks soloed, and then I'm going to put them together and show you the final mix. So what we've got up top here, you can see on the screen, are my music left and right. It's a stereo track, music track. If I play it, there you hear just music only, which I've chopped up and I've only brought it in again later. But where that ends, I have a dialogue piece. If you followed it on the screen down on the left here, I have dialogue of the actors.
Mr. Anderson, surprised to see me?
Right, so if I play all those together, music, effects, narrator and dialogue, we have something that sounds like this.
Anderson. Surprised to see me?
Own the movie that...
Not all sound effects are realistic sounds like those made by rain or traffic. Sometimes the sound that's added in has nothing to do with the drama. Instead, it's added to create an emotive effect. Watch this clip. As you do, listen for realistic sound effects and sound effects that have been added in for dramatic purposes. I hope that from watching this lesson, you've realized what an important role the soundtrack plays in a film. Let's recap the components of a soundtrack. You'll remember that it's made up of voices, music, and finally sound effects. The next time you're watching a film, listen carefully for these 3 examples of the different components of soundtracks, and also see if you can work out why each component has been used. I'm sure you'll soon realize just what a complex role sound plays in a film. Please join me for the next lesson. Goodbye.